So this is the first fit up of the quarter. I had to do a voiceover because I had the cutoff wheel hooked up and the air was leaking and it was loud. It's kind of tricky because you got to get the quarter around that drip rail, and to do that you got to bend this outside or this inner flange out, and then that will allow you to get the quarter panel on. And also, fun fact, if you guys want to turn this into a drinking game, then every time I say the word "so," I've edited out like 30 so's, because this is like 10 or 15 videos that I've edited together. Have a drink every time you hear the word "so." And you can see how much twist is in this quarter. I mean, so now, big question is so just like the other side, I'm gonna have to cut out this hole for the striker and move it, because the way it is right now, we won't even be able to get the door striker in there. So that's off. I got major gap issues on the bottom. So this quarter needs to come down. But those little problems that you got to deal with as you're going into these. So I ended up trimming this corner out to get it to come down. And now if you get down, it's pretty close. This line doesn't match up with that. So like the other side, I'll have to make a cut probably like right about here. And then I'll have to hammer and dolly this out and put a new body line in right there and just kind of blend it into this. I'm still running into, if you can see, the quarter panel is still too high. So I got a vice grip. I'm trying to pull it down into this and I can't get it to go. So I don't know, like the other side, I think this lip in here is just a little too big. So I'm gonna get the cutoff wheel and I'm gonna just shave probably like an 1/8 inch off of the quarter, off this lip. I'm not going to take the quarter off to do it. I'll just do it right in here and just kind of eyeball it. Once it's all done, you won't see any of that anyways, because that all gets sealed. And then back here, I had to bend this out with some pliers so I could get it to drop in. Now I'll have to straighten this out a little bit, and then I'll form this to match that. Back here, where are we at here? Try to get it at a good angle where you can see. Okay, so I'll have to trim the quarter. I'll have to trim this back a little bit because this is supposed to overlap. And this lip, I actually probably should have stopped like right where my fingertip is, right where my nail is. So otherwise, the back of it looks like it's fitting up okay. I mean, good enough for the first fit up anyways. And I don't really have anything holding it on except for this vice grip and that vice grip. But I'm hoping by trimming this, I should be able to get the quarter to come down into the drip rail a little bit more. It's not quite in the drip rail all the way. And actually thinking about it, I'll have to take it off because there's, at the bottom of the drip rail here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. You can kind of see the angle of the light. Well, anyways, right there, it bends down. So I got to cut that out because that's not going to let me bring the drip rail down all the way. So I will have to pull it back off, but I don't have to take it all off. I just got to pop it loose. So, and then we'll see how it fits after that. Okay, so now we got the quarter on. So we got the new one test fit. And you can see I got sheet metal screws. Just kind of holding it in place right now. The striker on this side didn't line up. I got to do some filing once I pull the quarter off. But so I had to weld in. I actually took the original one that I cut out of that side and stuck it over this, traced it, and cut it out and welded it in. So, but we got the quarter fits pretty good. It bugs out right here because the inner rocker, it's either the inner rocker or this wheel tub. I think it's this wheel tub hits. So when I pull this off, I mean, this wheel tub's gonna have to come out too, so. Up top, this isn't welded. To get the door, or to get the quarter to come down and forward, I straightened out the lip in here, like when the quarter's off, it's got this lip. I don't see it. On the ground, I'm looking. It'd probably be this guy right here. Nope. But anyway, inside the drip rail, the quarter would go in and then a 90's out. Well, I hammered and dollied it flat, and then I rebent it about 1/8 or 3/16 of an inch further up so I could get the quarter to go down and forward a hair. And then, even then, I couldn't get it to line up, or the quarter was still too high. So we took a ratchet strap from here, went over the quarter, down and to the frame rail, and used a ratchet strap, and that kind of pulled the quarter down to where we needed it. Zipped in some screws. The pins and bushings in this door are bad. Right now the quarter is a little too high, but there's so much play in these pins and bushings. So I don't know if you can hear it and see it. So that clunking is coming out of the hinge. I don't know if, I haven't looked at it to see if it's the top or the bottom, but so we'll fix that. It's not off enough where I'm worried about it, because I can, if I have to, I can raise the door just a hair, but I don't think I'll have to. Once we put pins and bushings, because it's sagging right now, it should be up, and then it'll line up with that. Back here, we got a pretty decent trunk gap. I got a screw here, and then I got, like you would think, I got a couple screws holding that down. Those two screws are really critical, because that without those in, that holds the hinge for the trunk. All the springs and everything are missing out of this. So without those two screws, this trunk lid, when you shut it, you can move it forward or backward. So that affects your gaps just as much as pushing the quarter panel in. But now we have everything kind of test fit. Unfortunately, it's the same as the other side. You can see this body line here. So I had to do a cut I had to make a pie cut here. Actually, I just made one cut, and now it just kind of pied out. But to get it to curve properly for in here, I know it doesn't look like it's curved. It looks all flat and choppy and weird, but that's just the reflections kind of playing tricks. And then you can see this body line shoots way off out here. So I scribed where the new body line's gonna go. So the new line's it'll follow this and then gradually go in to here. So I'll have to make a cut right there, and then I'll have to hammer and dolly this out and then make a weld it back. Today's a new day, so today I'm gonna see how far I can get. I'm hoping I can get that body line done, and I'm hoping I can get up here done, get this line all done, and hopefully I'll be able to get all the holes drilled, and then tomorrow I mean, it would be really nice if I could get it undercoated and get that weld through primer on, but I just don't, I'm not going to have enough time, I don't think. Plus I still got to treat the support or the inner structure behind this. I got to wire wheel it and get it all cleaned up and paint it like I did the other side. So we still got quite a bit to do, but it's coming along and it's looking good. Okay, so I did a little massaging on the quarter and on the door, and I won't have to mess with this body line after all. So it ain't gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be close enough to where, unless you're a body guy, you're not gonna know. So once the car's on the ground, you won't know either. It'll look just fine. I gotta start telling myself that we're not trying to build a show car, we're building a race car that needs to look good, you know. Up here, I don't know if I talked something to talk about real quick, because you guys can see that this is like a little bit of a gap, right? So if you're gonna weld a gap, then you do a little tack. Do a little tack right here, right? Come over here, do a little tack. Come on, focus. Go back over here, do a tack. Come back over here, do a tack. Wait for the red to go away between these tacks. So you'll do a tack, you know, it turns red hot, and then wait for that red hot to go away, and then do this one, and you just go back and forth, and then eventually you close this gap, okay? And it's kind of like if you're welding, if there's a rust hole, or like a tiny little pinhole and you're trying to weld it up, and as soon as the welder touches it, then it blows up into this big giant hole. Over exaggerated, obvious, but then instead of tacking in that center, go past the hole. So let's say we'll over exaggerate this and scratch it in here. So say it blew up into a hole like this, rather than tacking the edges, because then it might just burn back farther. Instead, tack just a little bit into the panel where the metal's a little thicker, okay? And you go all the way around, or whatever, you jump back and forth and do it how you want to do it. But then it'll give you thicker metal to work with on the edges. So then you would, you know, usually it'd be a lot smaller, but you would do a tack and it would go, let's see, like that. I'm kind of fighting the curve here. And then you do a tack here, right? And a tack here. And a tack here. Anyways, by the time you get around, this hole has shrunk to smaller. Now it's small enough where you can just start right here and you just go back and forth and burn it in and it's done. Otherwise, what happens is it blows up like this, and then you try to tack it right here, and then this spot blows back like that, and now you got a bigger hole that you're chasing, and you try doing it again, and then now it blows up down here, and so now you're trying to fill basically this hole and this hole. So now it kind of looks perverted. Sorry, that wasn't my intention. But anyways, so that's how you do like a pinhole. It's kind of the same concept with this. By jumping back and forth, you're bridging the gap. Once you get it tacked, or once you get the bridge gapped, get an air blower and cool it down. And then now when you weld, you start just at the base of that tack, that bridge, and then you just jump from side to side. You'll go zzz, 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 and you'll just work your way, you know, from here down. Okay, so now this was all the way down to here, and I didn't weld up here yet because I got this body line that I got to hammer and dolly out, and I need the metal, I need to give the metal some room to wiggle. I'll also make a relief cut down under here, right from this corner down, and then that way it'll just help fold it up and help this lip here go and fold up a little bit, and it'll just kind of help smooth that out. And then I'll go back and weld it up. So, but that's how I weld these when they're a little bigger gaps. I mean, this is the size of the gap that we got up here. I found it trying to just cut a little pie sliver often takes longer than just welding it. You just got to take your time. I mean, to weld all of this, it only took a few minutes. So, I mean, by the time I would have like perfectly made a sliver piece to fit in there, and then you know what's going to happen is at the very end of it, when you try to tack it, it's going to burn that tip back like a quarter or half inch. So now you're still stuck with the gap you got to fill. And then as you're tacking it into place, it's so thin it's going to warp real bad on you. And so sometimes it's just easier to just fill those with weld. And it's actually probably, it's technically stronger like this because the metal's going to be thicker here now. We did run into a problem. I pulled the bottom of this quarter in, and I loosened up, so the inner wheel tub is out, and I had to loosen it up and move it just a little bit for this seam. So I loosened it up and moved it just a little bit, and I pushed this in. I got it screwed into place, and it's nice and even now. It's a little big here, but once I fold the inner edge down and weld it, then as the inner edge comes down, it's going to push it out, and it'll make it smooth just like right here. And I know that because it was the exact same gap over here as it was over here, and as soon as I put a sheet metal screw in the back and flattened it out, it kicked that bottom edge out. So it'll work. But on the negative side, you get back and look, when I pushed that in and got it lined up, that wheel tub put a crease like all the way around the quarter, which isn't a big deal. It's just I'm gonna have to hammer and dolly that out.